I watched one of our clients' podcast episodes today, and it quite literally changed my perspective on success and how to achieve success. And I think it's one of those interesting things where oftentimes when you gain in something, you also gain in something else. So maybe as an example, when you gain in self-belief, oftentimes you increase arrogance. But what we're going to talk about today is actually kind of the polar opposite of that.
The correct order, in my opinion, is self-awareness first, self-acceptance second, self-mastery third. What is not in that equation is what we're going to talk about today, which is self-consciousness.
Next Level Nation, today for episode number 2044, one thing most truly successful people have in common. I said it weird. One thing most truly successful people have in common. Whatever.
Truly?
That's what we're talking about today. So, as I mentioned, what do you want?
How certain were you I was going to screw that cold open up?
I was fairly certain you were going to screw it up.
I was this close. I was supposed to say self-improvement instead of self-mastery. My brain was like, just say something.
Well, you said, I never would have noticed. I was reviewing one of our clients' podcast episodes today, and he has a degree in philosophy. He's very successful in real estate, good human. And one of the things that he was talking about, so he was talking about it was like the 7 lessons he's learned from 26 podcast episodes. So he set a goal to do 2 years straight every single week and never miss.
Nice.
And he said, so technically I'm at the halfway point of the first year. And I wanted to do an episode on what I've learned. And he went through kind of the 6 lessons. And they were all really good. I don't remember most of them off the top of my head. But this lesson, when I heard it, I was literally taking notes. And I was like, we have to do an episode on that. He said, most of the successful people I have had the opportunity to interview have accomplished creating a really high level of self-awareness without creating a really high level of self-consciousness.
Nice.
And I was like, ooh. That's interesting. Shit. It's good shit. And then he went into self-awareness is how you perceive yourself. Self-consciousness is how you think other people perceive you. And the reason...
Yeah. He almost had me. Don't agree with that. No. I don't think that's true, but I think there's some truth to it.
I took notes. So that might not even be exactly what he said. These are my notes.
Gold and made it worse?
These are my notes. I was in a hurry when I was doing it. But the reason we labeled this episode truly successful is because you can 100% achieve external results and be self-conscious. Would you ever know that person was self-conscious? No. But we've met a lot of people who externally have a lot of quote-unquote success, but internally are not fulfilled. They're super scarce. They don't know how they got to where they got. They're very, very self-conscious. So
and or completely full of shit.
Well, yeah. But I don't know how many full of shit people are really self-conscious because I think they're like delusional. So it's like, well, whatever. I'm the best.
Yeah. Despite any evidence to the contrary.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is why I don't think they're fulfilled. I don't think, this is my thesis, it's a theory. This is not scientifically backed yet. This is just based on my own experience. I don't think you can be full of shit and fulfilled.
What if you delude yourself into thinking you're fulfilled?
Nope. I don't think that works because the only way to be fulfilled, I believe, I could be wrong about this, is the triad we created, which is grow to your potential, your unique potential, impact others in a meaningful, positive way with that potential, and then have a higher quality of life that gets better over time. And I don't think you can do that while being full of it. Yeah, because again, this is mind, body, heart, and soul. I think all of those have to be in alignment in order for someone to be fulfilled. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual parts of our nature all need to be in alignment, but that's a side tangent. So I said this to my client earlier. I think this goes really well with this episode. And the quote, correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, is the people who found true success, meaning they are successful not just in wealth, but in a holistic nature, and fulfilled. They have high self-awareness, but without high self-consciousness. Nice. I agree with that very deeply, based on all the people I've coached, based on my own experience, you, everything. It's really strong, really strong. I said this person said, it isn't about the investment, but more so if the book is credible and whether or not I'm going to learn accurate information. I don't know the difference between what's actually good and credible and what's bullshit. Like someone could write a really good book about the earth being flat, but it's inaccurate. And by the way, that is inaccurate. The world is not flat, despite what the flat earthers think. So how do you know whether or not the book is credible? That was my question. Again, I don't trust myself yet with choices like that. Appreciate the humility. That's the value of having a coach. Ask me. I got you. Now I have to read this fucking book, figure out if it's credible. I'm kidding. I said, let's discuss this on our session today. That question is deeply important to contemplate. And this is what I said. That is a great dominant question to have. One, you're constantly asking yourself, is this accurate? Is this accurate? Is this accurate? That should be running on repeat in your head like your favorite song forever. Along with, where might I be wrong? What doesn't make sense yet? What am I missing? What is actually accurate and what is not? Where might I be lying to myself? What might I be running or hiding from? What isn't that person saying? What is that person actually thinking, etc., etc. And the list goes on forever and ever. Spending your life in constant contemplation. This is why Aristotle said the unexamined life is not worth living. This is the base reason why most people are unfulfilled. They are living unexamined surface-level lives where they aren't actually in any control of themselves or their outcomes.
Been a long time since I've gotten an Alan Lazaros message of that length.
I have been not coaching you quite as much as I used to.
I remember those, the good old days.
Well, I can see why that would sound exhausting, but the truth of the matter is you have to be constantly seeing where you're wrong. That should be, everyone's whole life should be oriented around where might I be what am I missing? Where am I wrong? What doesn't make sense yet? It's, and to the point of this episode, if that makes you self-conscious, that's why this gets so difficult. Because she had said to me, well, what about someone who struggles? Because when they see where they're wrong, what if they think they're wrong about everything? That creates anxiety. I said, oh, well, you're not wrong about everything. Okay, let's start the opposite then. Where am I right? What do I know for sure? Oprah wrote a book called What I Know for Sure. And I read it a while ago. And again, I don't necessarily think it's that good. I'm not trying to be unkind to Oprah. I think it's probably worth a read for sure. But I love the title. What I Know for Sure. She did thousands of interviews with people from all over the world. Like, she wrote a book called What I Know for Sure. I think that's really important. All of us should have what we know for sure. I have a list of principles that I'm curating that I think are true to me. And these are the things that I know that I know that I know that I know are sound. These are the things that always hold up. That's what truth is. It always holds up. And that's why you and I correct each other all the time, because I'll say things like, well, everyone needs to work hard. And you're like, well, not everyone, right? So this podcast can be really annoying at times because you and I are always trying to say things that are accurate. And sometimes when you get on a run, it's, well, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. Well, there's some people that are lazy as shit that fake it. And, so that's
why it's so hard. That's why I almost never take a stance, because you can find somebody who's 20 years old who's a multimillionaire. It's just very, very rare.
It's very rare. That's why it's like, well, 80%. It's
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's why my goal is almost to like interject and say, no, I know if you're out there, you probably follow somebody who's in their 20s who's way more successful financially than you are. I know I do, for sure. Well, probably less now because most of that is not necessarily, I don't resonate with that type of content anymore. But okay, we can have that discussion and then we can say, yeah, I know who you're talking about, but this is how they did it, and they're the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. The odds of getting there are just so statistically low. Like, they're an outlier. They're just an outlier. What do you think self-awareness is the prescription to, the medicine for? Like, what does it solve for? Self-awareness solves for what? Other than ignorance.
Great question.
I'm a bit of a philosopher myself,
for sure.
On a Monday here.
For sure. What does self-awareness solve?
And what does it create?
I think it creates self-confidence in most cases, but only after it creates self-consciousness. This is a difficult topic for me because when you first become aware, let me give you an example. Okay, so I lifted my shirt up today at the gym because I was sweating like crazy. It was really hot because in the spring, gyms all are trying to refigure out. It was just hot as hell. And Emilia and I are just sweating. And I lifted up my shirt to wipe my face, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I was, okay. There's a little self-awareness there. It's feedback. It's, okay, I'm okay, but what the fuck, right? A little bit. That, at first, it creates self-consciousness. There's a little bit of, come on, man. Like, are you in a cut, or what are we doing here? And then after that, it builds self-confidence because what you do about it. Now I know, now I have the awareness, okay, my six-pack's not back yet. I have to eat less. So it's this weird duality of first you have to feel the pain of the fact that you didn't realize you were fatter than you thought. And now that you know you're fatter than you thought, you can now do something about it, assuming you have self-belief and the awareness of how to do it. And so self-awareness creates the opportunity for more control, but only if you handle it well. Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes.
I think you were talking about, I don't know exactly what you were talking about before, owning truths. And I think the more self-aware you are in a category, the easier it is to own that truth. Because in order to get...
based on self-belief.
I think so, but I also think it's based in self-awareness because the more... In order to get to let's say you're at a level 2 in something right now. The only real way to get to a level 3 is to get the self-awareness and the world awareness to get there. And then you're going to fail at that level, and it's going to bring more self-awareness of when I fail at this level, how do I respond? So I think you kind of need internal self-awareness and external world awareness to level up.
Agreed. Yeah. And then skills, and then resources. We have that little triad. We taught a triad at Next Level Live of awareness, skills, and resources, and goal is in the center. So if you want to achieve a goal, you need the awareness of how to do it. You need the skills to actually implement. You can be aware of how to give a speech and still be terrible at speaking. And then you need the resources, meaning the stage, the clothes. You can't go up there naked.
You can.
I guess you could.
There's a market for that for sure. Yeah, 100%. That might be the play. Maybe we're missing that out. We should start there.
I am not good. I'm not doing it. That's not for me.
Okay.
I went on stage. Both of us did fitness shows where we were nearly naked. You far more than me. I had board shorts on.
It becomes normal after a while, right?
Men's physique, yeah. Well, in that environment, it is normal, right? So, but you avoid feedback. I think it all comes down to how much there's something called a locus of control I've talked a lot about. How in control do you feel of changing it? If you feel like you can't change it or can't do anything about it, you'll naturally avoid the feedback. So it's all predicated on how much control you feel you have. And the amount of control you feel you have is based on your awareness and skills. Like you and I were talking right before this, next Tuesday, I have a podcast. So I have a business meeting with Kev and then a podcast and then group coaching, Group 18 connection session, and then immediately an interview for being an adjunct professor potentially at my alma mater for a leadership course, and then immediately a speech. All back-to-backs with no breaks. And the old me wouldn't have been able to do that. Well, I would have done it, but I wouldn't have done it well. And again, well is relative. It's the hardest thing in the world to explain. I'm still going to Jeff that. I'm going to fuck that up for sure. But to what extent? Right? Way less than I would have in the past. And it depends how you look at it. Mess it up compared to who?
Yeah.
you know? And it's okay, well, why don't you give yourself space in between those? I want to see if I can do it. That's it. I would rather just take the L's and just grow from it, because I think long term that's a good thing. But that'll bring self-awareness, to my point of this, but it won't necessarily, it might bring some self-consciousness. So I think that if you don't have high self-belief and you don't believe you're in control of the outcomes, I think you're going to play scared forever.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want to look at, like, no one's going to want to lift up their shirt and look at the fact that they're fatter than they thought unless they feel in control of how, you know, because I just know I have to eat less. Like, I've been eating more. Like, I'm in a cut, but I like to eat. I'm a big fan. And I just know, okay, come on, Alan, you don't have to eat so damn much. You know, like, just be in a cut, for fuck's sake. But I've also done fitness for 10 years. Like, I remember when I didn't feel in control of those outcomes as much as I do now. So I think it's all predicated on control. But without self-awareness, you have very little control. So it's that duality.
Isn't that such a weird thing that you have so much control that you almost allow yourself to practice less control? I was thinking of that. Taryn?
I think it's arrogant. I get arrogant. Yeah. I think that's arrogance personally.
Do you? I don't think so. I think for me it's... I told Taryn, I was talking to my buddy at the gym today. I was talking to Bruce at the gym. Bruce is a 79-year-old bodybuilder.
That's awesome.
So the man, he's like, hitting upper chest today. I need it. And he just laughs. It's like, Bruce, you say that every day, buddy. Every single day you say that. You're good. You're crushing it, man. We were talking about how, he said, how much are you going to keep dieting? And I said, I'm at 176. I'm probably in 175s now. I said, I'm going to go to 170 and see what happens. And he said, oh man, I don't know. And I said, honestly, it's not that bad yet. It's not really that. I mean, Taryn went yesterday and got me a couple donuts. I had 2 donuts yesterday. Did that slow my progress down? 100%. But it was like, I'm okay with that. I feel like things are trending right. I said, I'd rather suffer for longer but less than for shorter but more. And that's something new. Like, that's a new self-awareness thing for me of like, it's really, I will go to the gym in the morning, I'll have a protein shake, and then I don't eat until night. I just don't eat for the rest of the day, and then I have a big meal.
I think you're starting to feel what it's like to believe in yourself at such a high level that you do get a little arrogant. Like, dude, the humble thing to do would be to not eat donuts. The arrogant thing to do is to say, I'm in control of it anyway, so...
No, I disagree. It depends on the goal. If I was doing a fitness show...
barbecue chicken pizzas before my show, I thought I could win even while doing it.
Well, that's different.
I was inaccurate. I wasn't
but
lean enough.
You were going against other people. I'm going against the scale. The scale's not changing. I know what the scale's going to do. It depends on the goal. For me, there's not a certain date.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do the 10 pounds. And I don't want to.
Isn't it arrogant to not have a certain date?
No, I don't think so.
So it's just based on standards then?
Is it arrogant to go for a ride and not know where you're going to go? No, not if you're a good driver. If you're a good driver, you can.
No. But it is if you have goals to achieve. I think there's a little bit of hubris in that. Again, this is not the point of the episode.
Hubris is such an interesting word. I love that word.
Yeah. Hubris means arrogant.
Yeah, but it sounds better.
So I actually think that just driving around aimlessly is a little bit arrogant.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because your future is taking a huge hit. And you wanting to believe otherwise is actually... like,
but I'm just using that as an analogy.
I know, but I think that...
I'm just using that as an analogy.
I think
if I had a fitness show, I would say it's arrogant. If there was like a date where I have like a massive goal, this 170 goal is not that. It's less meaningful than I thought it was, but it's more meaningful in other ways.
So arrogant would be you assuming you could do whatever you want and still hit 170, right?
Yeah. It's I used to say this to people all the time. It's your goal. So if you come to me and say, hey, I want to take a month off of podcasting, you do that. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you.
There's no part of you that thinks that's a little bit arrogant. If they want to be a successful podcaster and they take a month off of podcasting, there is a little bit of hubris in that.
No, I think it's ignorance.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's ignorance.
Oh, okay. So I do dumb shit knowing it's dumb.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe that's why I think it's arrogance.
What I will tell someone is, just so you know, you're competing with people like us who we're not going to miss. So you're in trouble potentially.
Okay, do you think it's arrogant to do it anyway and still think you're going to win?
No, not if
like us.
Not if you. It depends on what you value more. If you value winning more, yes.
Okay.
If you value lifestyle
That's
more,
a good
no.
Discussion. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't usually make, like when I make bad choices, it's usually knowing they're terrible choices. It's knowing that this is, when I was doing what I was doing with the fitness show that I lost, I knew I was riding the lightning. I knew. Like I knew I was risking losing the show.
See,
I didn't know I would get stomped that badly.
I think that's arrogance.
Yeah. Well, so knowledge, if you are aware that there are podcasters out there that are working way harder than you are, and you still think you're going to win while being lackadaisical, I do think there's a little bit of hubris in that. Either that or you're just not aware of how competitive it actually is.
If you came to me and said, yeah, I just want to do the show. I don't really care. Like, whatever. I don't care if I place.
Yeah.
Eat all the fucking pizza you want. Yeah, whatever. You're
So
still going to do.
on the goal then.
I think it all depends on the goal. For me, I'm in a good place where like I'm making really good progress in my fitness goals and I'm not suffering a ton. And I'm just going to keep riding this train the way it is.
But if your goal was to reach your potential, would you say that what you're doing right now is a little bit of hubris?
No, because I think it's the juggling act of lifestyle and goals. If my lifestyle is crumbling too much, I'm not going to reach my potential anyway.
Nice.
So that's okay. We got to go because Alan has book club. We're recording this on Saturday. That's why we have the Saturday energy. Next Level Dreamliner. Link will be in the show notes. Next Level Nation. If you're looking for a group of like-minded humans, we have a meetup coming up in a couple weeks. I don't know what it's about, but once we know, we'll let you know. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. At NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it self-aware. Next Level Nation.